Welcome back. If Donald Trump does get the nomination, it looks like he will, and if he goes on to win the presidency, one of the things he vowed was a ban on all Muslims.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on.
Exit polls showed that many people in South Carolina agree with Donald Trump, but the question is, does it need to be done, can it be done, and why? Joining me now to discuss this is my unfiltered panel, national security analyst for the Clarion Project, Professor Ryan Mauro, and former INS Special Agent Michael Cutler. Coming to us from sunny Florida is CAIR's Florida Communications Director, Wilfredo Ruiz. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. And as you know, we go around the table. We try not to talk over each other, even though this is a hot topic. Let's be gentlemen. Absolutely. I'm going to start with you, Professor. Do you agree with the ban on all Muslims?
I don't, because I think of the Muslim contacts I have overseas that if they came to the United States would make us safer. There is a shortage of people that speak Arabic and know the situation over there within the intelligence community, and they could do a lot to help protect the United States. And also, if you're a bad guy trying to come to the United States and you're aware of this ban on Muslims, you'll just lie about your faith.
You know, I don't think we need a ban on all Muslims. And I think if Donald could say it again, and first of all, he did not say a permanent ban on all Muslims. Right. He said until we get our act together. Now, Michael and I being immigration guys, hawks, if you will, I think what he's trying to say, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think what he's trying to say is, hey, man, we got too many people coming in right now. We got bad guys slipping through. We need to catch our breath before we just allow millions of people to come in. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, it's kind of like if you remember Lucy at the Bonbon Factory. You know, you're trying to wrap all the candies and they're just flying past you. The inspector at the airport, they did that job for the first 4 years of my career, gets about a minute to make a yay-nay decision and think of what the repercussions are. And you're right about people lying. You know, visa fraud and lying to the inspectors is one of the tactics of not only the 9/11 terrorists, but many other terrorists and criminals. A smarter strategy would be to target citizens of those countries that traditionally sponsor terrorism, have a zero tolerance to immigration law violations within that community, and then seek to do one of two things: create informants and cooperators within that community, or at least whittle down the size of the haystack in which some very deadly needles are hiding, based on what the immigration laws require. And by the way, the 9/11 Commission spoke about the concept of randomness. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like you got to be in the lottery to win the lottery. If you're out there making arrests, interviewing people, paying attention, listening to your informants, you're going to trip over people that are up to all sorts of terrible things also.
Wilfredo, I want to go to you, pal. You know, there's a video circulating around the internet. It's from a Donald Trump rally. It was recent. And a man who was a Muslim pushed his way to the front and said, Donald, I'm Muslim and I love you and I'm voting for you. What's CAIR's position on Donald Trump?
I can tell you that whatever bigotry comes from Donald Trump's lips is condemned by CAIR. Condemned by CAIR, I bet there are close to 10 million Muslims that live in America. The same Muslims that served over 10,000 in the armed forces, so they're wearing the uniform today to keep you and me safe. Those thousands of Muslims who are serving as law enforcement officers, in the thousands, the other hundreds serving in the FBI, other hundreds serving in the CIA. So to speak this nonsense, what we should seriously think is of banning Donald Trump's bigotry from the political arena. It doesn't just hurt the Republican Party, it hurts what America is truly about. An America without immigrants, political refugees, will be an America without Steve Jobs, because Steve Jobs' biological father was himself a Syrian from Homs who immigrated as a refugee to America. So this is the nonsense that Donald Trump's proposals translate.
All right, let me say this. You know, the president's #1 job, Ryan, is to keep Americans safe. And as a guy who lived 9/11 and watched my fellow Americans jump from 80 stories, I take this pretty passionately. And so when I travel the country, and I've gone to different places like Dearborn, Michigan, I go there and I just don't feel like I'm in America anymore. Now, I look at a guy like Wilfredo. He looks like a swell guy. I'd have a beer with him. So the problem here is that there are communities, not just what I'm talking about in Dearborn, but the Clarion project actually went and discovered some of these enclaves, I guess you would call them, right? Tell us what it is that you found, and also I want you to tell us about the pictures that you're going to show here on television for the first time. Go.
Sure. There's a group led by a radical cleric in Pakistan named Sheikh Jilani. The name of the organization is Jamaat al-Fuqra, but here in the United States, they operate under the name of the Muslims of the Americas. And they have a network of what they call Islamic villages, 22 of them, the most famous one being their headquarters called Islamburg in New York State, which you've been to and I have as well. It has a history of carrying out terrorism. And in 1992, one of their original camps was shut down, but the rest of the network remains to today. And this is what the pictures are from, is their camp in Colorado.
All right, now we're showing the pictures here, right? So when we look at the pictures, I mean, this is why people are concerned, right? They're concerned because of the stuff that we're finding there. I mean, so, Wilfredo, when you hear about these camps, what's your take on that? Can you understand where the American people have a bit of a scare?
My take is that there has not been a terrorist organization operating in America since 2001 because of the effectiveness of our intelligence and law enforcement's apparatus.
Intelligence? We just had San Bernardino. Where were you, Wilfredo?
No. That you're misunderstanding. That was not a terrorist organization. Those were lone wolves. Terrorists acting, not an organization. When you have an organization, that is a lot easier for our government intelligence to deal with them because they need financial transactions, a lot of communications among those elements belonging to that organization. So the real threat is the lone wolves and those people acting on themselves, those terrorists acting on themselves, rather than those organizations that the passage of the years have proven how effective our intelligence community have been in keeping us safe from terrorist organizations operating in America.
I don't think Americans feel safe. Ryan, I want you to weigh in on what he just said, then Michael, you fall right behind him.
It's just false. There have been networks that have been shut down since 2001, including the Holy Land Foundation, which was a Muslim Brotherhood Hamas front that was financing Hamas and was shut down. And don't take my word for it. This is a 2007 FBI intelligence report that the Clarion Project released, and this is what it says about MOA, the group at the camps. It says it's now an autonomous organization which possesses an infrastructure capable of planning and mounting terrorist campaigns overseas and within the U.S. But I'm really not surprised that a representative from CAIR would say something like that, considering that one of the leaders of this group, Fuqra, was recently appointed as a board member of the Massachusetts branch of CAIR.
Oh, I'm going to want to hear what Wilfredo has to say about that. But Wilfredo, first I want to hear from Mr. Cutler.
Well, in addition to, we had the Boston Marathon bombing also, by the way, by the Tsarnaev brothers. We've had other people involved. And yes, there are some lone wolves. But we know that there are terror training camps operating in the tri-border region of Brazil. That puts it right on our doorstep in the Southwest. We also have the issue, in fact, the 9/11 Commission, to which I provided testimony, made the point about visa fraud, the visa waiver program, how people are gaining entry, whether to carry out attacks in the United States or generate money inside the United States to fund terrorism overseas. So the United States has a very serious problem. We have Venezuela as the arrival destination of choice for Iranian shock troops that are arriving weekly on flights directly from Tehran.
And they could basically just go on a skateboard and go right through
right across,
right through the border into Texas.
But this is a serious problem in terms of our national security.
Absolutely.
And we've heard this at the Senate hearings, by the way. And how many open investigations does the FBI say they now have?
Oh, they're overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed. Let's go to Wilfredo. What are you saying about this new appointed guy?
No, what I need to say is that not because it is my opinion, it's our intelligence agency's opinion that right-wing extremists are a bigger threat to America than ISIS. This came in an article on February 4th in Newsweek, and the people in this article are not Muslims that are posed the bigger threat. The people who occupied Oregon were not Muslims. The shooters in Denver Theater were not Muslims. Those who walked into the South
Okay,
Carolina
first of all, the
church,
people,
those who walked-
Wilfredo,
those- let me-
Wilfredo, no, I'm going to go right
finish.
over there because that what you just threw out is a bunch of rhetoric. We have been covering what took place in Oregon day in and day out. Nobody took anybody's life in Oregon except for the FBI, who took the life of a rancher, okay? So we can't take Islamic terrorists, people who will just blow themselves up in the name of Allah, and compare them to the Bundys. I will not allow that to happen on this show. Ryan?
Well, notice what he said. He said that it was the determination of the intelligence community that right-wing terrorists are a bigger threat than the Islamic terrorists. But then he cited an article. What he's actually citing is not the intelligence community, it's specific nonprofits and specific newspaper articles. So let's be clear. Another network that continues to operate in the United States, here are the words of the Justice Department in one trial. It said, from its founding by Muslim Brotherhood leaders, CAIR conspired with other affiliates of the Muslim Brotherhood to support terrorists. The conspirators agreed to use deception to conceal from the American public their connections to terrorists. And that's not me talking, that's the Justice Department, and I'm not citing a newspaper article.
You know, my feeling, if we take this back to the original question, which was if Donald Trump becomes the President of the United States, what do we have to do to keep Americans safe? We understand that there are more than just the border states. We have 50 border states, as Michael always says so eloquently. And so at the end of the day, we are overwhelmed. We cannot check the people who are coming into this country. Like you said, I love the Lucy thing. I love Lucy.
You have that image in your head.
Yeah, I do. You know what? It's a perfect analogy. I'm going to steal it if you don't mind. That being said, you know what? We only have 30 seconds. I'm going to have all you guys coming back. I want to hear what the audience has to say. I want your comments about what went on right now in this D block, as we call it. DML report at newsmax.com. Please send me an email. I want to thank all three of you for being with me. Maybe next time we'll do 2 blocks on this, all right?
Good to join you.
All right, thanks so much, Michael. Thank you,
Watch the right
Wilfredo.
wing.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks. We'll be back.